how I just used the AI toolkit called What's Up With That to, I hope, make a really valuable contribution to a public discussion that I wanted to participate in. And I thought I'd show it off. Maybe you want to do something similar. So here's an example of an article that sustainability thought leader Gil Friend put up. A really great post talking about all the things that he's reading right now, what he's thinking about, what he's talking about with others, and a call to action to register for his next webinar. He tagged a bunch of people in the industry, thankfully me as well, and so it came to my attention. And I wanted to ask, what's up with that? So I ran my browser extension, what's up with that? And what we do is real quick draw out a map of the current state of the art in whatever topic this is about, and then discern which parts of what we're reading here are most notable or novel given that larger state of the art. So here's a little summary. You can see in the world of sustainability and climate action, here are the things that stand out in Gil's post. Cool. But I want to know something a little different. Let me move my camera over. I read this post, and in particular, I was drawn to this line, how Gil is talking about why less talk, more action can be a misdirection, since there's a big difference between talk that's about something and talk that generates something. All right. Check out what I did. I came down here into my Power Tools button, and I said, I want to explore the cutting edge, not of these topics, but in particular, that topic of talk that describes versus talk that generates action. Go. And I'm going to flip over to where I've got all these analyses done in other tabs, and you'll see what came back was the current cutting edge, according to what's up with that, in talk that describes versus talk that creates action, are these articles right here, including this one from the the Institute for Sustainability Standards board. All right. So this is a big document full of discussions of what they're doing, and kind of made my eyes cross. So I ran, what's up with that? And I got a nice clean explanation of, all right, here is what's really significant in all of this. And to be honest, it was still a bit of a stretch. So I clicked the simplify button, got a plain language version explaining what this document was about. And then I was able to go back up and reread this structured set of highlights with a greater understanding. And I took particular note in this discussion here, saying, all right, they're going to develop a new standard on biodiversity ecosystems and ecosystem services, making this the first standard setting initiative beyond climate and general sustainability disclosures. Now, down here, you'll see there's a list of some articles elsewhere from my reading history or just the world at large that are more typical or more information, more context to put that claim into. And I noticed this one from S&P Global looked interesting, so I jumped over to read that. And of course, I ran, what's up with that? Here's this article on S&P Global saying, where does the world stand on adoption of these standards? Very interesting looking post. Here's a quick summary of it. Here are the most notable elements of this article. And then I said, all right, I've got these 3 articles. This is interesting. I am going to click Save to Hopper in the challenge. Oh, that button's not there because I clicked it, I guess. And so now I just saved Gil's article, Are We Winning? Are We Losing? What I'm thinking about, to my hopper. And then I came through and I saved each of these other 2 articles to my hopper as well. And then I ran a cross-article synthesis of all 3 of those. And I saw here are the similarities between the articles. Here are the differences between them, which help me understand them all the more clearly. And here are some potentially interesting combinatorial ideas if the ideas in each of these 3 individual articles were combined, intersected. I had a little question about one of the claims. And then incidentally, I also said, what are some upcoming events in here? But I decided not to do anything with that. I just took all of that information in particular, and I came back to Gil's article, and I wrote a comment and said, Gil, these are great themes you're discussing. I would like to discuss it to this cutting edge example out in the world of talk that generates action. In particular, the talk in this standards board going beyond a legacy degree of granularity in their standards to something more nuanced, and it's resulting in adoption of those standards. And now here comes more. I think a pretty cool example of the cutting edge of what was being discussed here. And then I linked out to the S&P Global article, and I shared a little thought about how, hey, Gil, this post that you wrote is a great example of public communication as thought leadership, offering us addressable surface area that any of us that you tagged or other people can come and connect with, so that we can connect with what you're doing and seeing. And I'm trying to do just that as well here in recording this video. So you can see that's how I used What's Up With That real quick to add value to this conversation around a topic of interest by pulling in information about the cutting edge of the themes being discussed, contextualizing things, and it was a lot of fun. It took me less time, possibly, maybe roughly the same amount of time that recording this video explaining it did. So you can do this yourself with What's Up With That, which is at whatsupwiththat.app. Free to try, 40 different mental models. Check it out. Thanks.